Going after Daryl is tricky, tricky, tricky.
Very nice.
Just funny enough, Chalice is founded by myself and my co-founder, who was a rap critic in the 90s, and whose review on Run DMC is available from the Seattle papers. Anyway, it's nice to meet you all. I'm so excited to be joined with Gary Guarnaccia, also known as Gary G, from Bayer. He is the head of investment and ad tech there, and Tylynn Pettrey, who is SVP of AI and analytics at Chalice. We are really excited because most AI panels are talking about the future, what AI is going to do in the future. We're going to discuss what AI has done in the past, is doing now, and sprinkle some future on there, of course. Before we get started, though, I like to ask a fun question, which is, what is one way AI is improving your life today?
Cool. Yeah, I've got the fun answer. Do you want to go first, or?
No, go ahead. Kick it off, Gary.
Okay, cool. So last weekend I had to clean the bathrooms in my house, and I don't think anybody wants to clean the bathrooms, but it got to a point where I had to do it, right? So I was looking for some motivation, and I remembered that my brother sent me some music to listen to earlier in the week. So I go and I click the link. It's a YouTube video, and it was actually an AI version of a Slipknot song. It's a band that we both listen to, but it was in the style of like a funky soul Slipknot song. So I was dancing and cleaning the bathroom, and it's never been as clean right now as it's been. It's really amazing what, if you look for your favorite music types, you can actually find new genres of it and actually enjoy it a lot. So definitely improving my life in that capacity.
Amazing.
For sure.
Next up is ChatGPT cleaning the bathroom for you, right?
I wish.
That's what I'm most excited about, and if it can fold my laundry, that would be great. I'm always looking for ways to find efficiencies, so I absolutely love using AI to start planning around the holiday season. I have a ton of nieces and nephews, so just coordinating like, oh, these are really cool gift ideas for each age bracket. Is this something that would be a nice touch? It's really easy to use ChatGPT just to coordinate all of that.
Yeah, we probably got our nieces and nephews the exact same gifts then, I guess.
Yeah, we're all going to end up with the same toys, actually. Good
Nice.
point.
I'm going to ask you both to channel your inner rapper and get like a little closer to the mic, but awesome. Okay, so Bayer is taking a really interesting new approach because most companies right now are thinking about AI for efficiency, right? How do I save time, save money, all of that. And you're certainly doing that. That's certainly part of your plan. But what we're going to talk about today is how you're using AI to drive growth, right? Growth and efficiency. And so I wanted to just start up by asking, what are the biggest wins in AI that you've had at Bayer when it comes to media so far?
Yeah, there's a few. I think it's worth prefacing that in programmatic and social, a lot of the principles of ML and AI have been a part of the ecosystem for a long time, right? So when I think of growth and wins, I'm trying to identify things that are different and incremental to what's already been done, right? So on the targeting side, we've worked with Chalice and a short list of other companies to build audiences in a way that's much different from the prior way of doing business, which is just looking at attributes that over-index and then taking everybody with that attribute, right? But what you guys have built and what we see significant performance with is user scoring, right? And it's not necessarily attribute dependent anymore, but if there's a significant number of attributes, we then say, who are the people who are the most likely to try our brand for the first time? And those are the users we're going to target. It's not everybody who drives a sports car or has a coupe anymore. It's really the user level scoring that's a big deal. So I think that's a big win. Separately and selfishly, as an investment lead, I do a lot of work with the event level and log level data that we have. And so as of this year, I'm able to use the Snowflake AI Copilot and actually use the log level data that we have, right? I think owning it is one thing, but finding utility out of it is another. And I'm not a data scientist by trade. I'm just a media guy. So the fact that I could use that function is significant. And then to round this out on the analytics side, we've moved away from just solely focusing on looking at things historically, and now we can predict performance with investment mixes, channel mixes, whatever it may be. So really on the targeting, big data, as well as analytics side, there have been a few wins.
Nice. And Tylynn, so you've built an AI modeling platform. It's one that gets customized for each advertiser's own goal and data. How has working with Bayer shaped the development of Chalice's platform?
I think Gary nailed it with this comment about Snowflake. My team's great at building mathematical models, and we're really good at fine-tuning all of this from a data science perspective, but we're not experts in media. We don't really know what kind of tweaks really make a difference for the brand. So working with Gary and team has been really interesting as they work with us on the tech. They're able to point out all the little nuances that we wouldn't have thought about, fine-tune the model, and then configure it to lead to better outcomes. So it's really been interesting to see the human in the loop element here, and that's been really exciting.
Nice. Okay, we're really excited to, oh, wait, can I go back? Is it not in the right order? We'll do it in this order. Okay.
Surprise.
Oh, here we go.
It
Okay.
worked.
Nice. Okay, so we're really excited at Paramount's offices to talk about something that Bayer is the first ever to go to market with, which is AI optimization using show-level data. So this brings together, well, actually, sorry, Gary, why don't you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, I can talk about it. One of the things that we did as a joint team and as a joint effort was you guys asked us what our business objectives were for some of the brands in the portfolio, right? And we talked about new to brand and increasing our household penetration. In CTV specifically, there's limited signal and few things that you can do to optimize that channel, right? How many times are people talking about increasing VCR and you get a report that says, we increased VCR by 2%? I don't necessarily think that's valuable. But what you came back to us with was a tool that isolated our new-to-brand customers and looked at their behavior from a viewership point of view, specifically on Paramount properties. And now we can work with Paramount to actually optimize the supply that's being sent through to our DSP. So not only are we doing good work on the DSP side with whatever algorithm we have for bidding, but we're also optimizing the supply to give ourselves the best chance of success in our media investment, and that's what we're always aiming to do on behalf of our brands.
That's awesome. Tylynn, can you tell us more, so we're talking about AI models and using data to inform them. I'm curious what makes an AI model custom. What's important if you're thinking about partnering with someone for AI modeling, and how potentially does adding CTV data into the mix make models stronger?
I think it all comes down to the data and the level of transparency when we're talking about AI partners. The data does the heavy lifting. The model's only as good as the data that's trained on. So having robust first-party data or trusted third-party data is extremely important. When we think about partners that we would like to optimize with, it needs to be custom to a brand to drive the optimal outcomes. If we're working with a large platform that's using an overall algorithm, it's optimizing to everything. It has to work well for every single partner using the platform. With custom AI, you can fine-tune it to suit your personal brand needs, and that's very powerful. As far as transparency, it's important to understand the decisions AI is making. We've all seen ChatGPT spit out some wild hallucinations. If we're thinking about different types of compliance, like the Fair Lending Act, we need to make sure that we're using models that are not going to drive us into sticky situations. I need to understand where is the data coming from, what is the AI model doing with it, what is the output, and does this make sense before I optimize that? Finding a partner that can't answer those questions is not going to be the optimal solution here.
Yeah, I would just add, at least in this case, what makes this different and unique is the information that we're using to be predictive isn't necessarily available in the bid stream for all publishers, right? So you could optimize the show level data with some distribution partners, but if you actually look to see where it's available, it's not everywhere. And if you compare that to your investment mix, you might realize that the majority of your CTV is not actually being optimized to show level. So the quality of the data that comes through and the availability of it is extremely important to make sure you review ahead of time.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a big trend to find ways to really decision on and optimize all streaming video, and especially CTV over the coming 6 to 18 months. So it's exciting to see you at the forefront. Cool.
Yeah, I think it'll work out. Sometimes our tests don't work out, but I think this one has some good potential. There we go, to be successful.
Yeah, so this is building on a test you did at the first half of the year with Claritin. So you came to us and said, listen, what we need with Claritin right now is more household penetration. And the way we get household penetration is by bringing new customers into the store buying the product. But we don't have any first-party, you guys have some first-party data, but not enough to do something robust. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay.
Kara's shaking her head. We don't. She says we don't have it, so we don't have it.
Okay. Which is like, every CPG we talk to is in the same boat. A lot of companies, either not CPG, are in the same boat. And so you're like, we want to find a way to model to reach really those new to brand customers. And so tell us a little bit about how that went and the results you saw.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what we expect on the CTV side, right? The plus 6% increase in new to brand sales is great. What we try to focus on, I think we'll talk about this also, is, if we're bringing someone into our product line for the first time, you really have to consider the scope of that attribution, right? And if we're distributing our product through multiple sales channels, you have to address that appropriately. So this is a true 6% increase across all sales channels. I think it goes back to the user scoring that I mentioned before, where we're really isolating who we're going to target, and we have the right to win, an opportunity to win, and then the media performance speaks for itself.
Yeah. Tylynn, Gary's mentioned user scoring a couple times. I imagine a lot of the audience isn't familiar with what that is. You're a data scientist. Don't go too deep for us. But could you explain, what's the difference between a user-scored audience and, buying audience segments?
Sure. I think we're all familiar with buying audience segments. You go into a platform, you see what audience you think is best aligned with your brand, and then you click on it. The problem with buying audience segments is that they're a bit too broad. You're missing nuances. So you're finding all new parents, or you're finding all females. That's not necessarily what's going to work best for your brand. I like to think of it as the near misses. So what if you're targeting a female with 2 children? Great, but have you thought about the grandparents if we're selling CPG products? Maybe they're also going to buy the kids' toys. LLMs can pick up on all these different nuances and find these other individuals, but it's a bit too granular for segments, and we miss all of those other nuances that we could take advantage of and bid on accordingly. User scoring is removing the segment layer and going down to the individual, so you can score an identifier. And you can get much more granular with the targeting and change your bid prices accordingly. That's the big difference here. You're really digging into the details and trying to take advantage of that with machine learning.
Yeah, I like that. It was something you explained to me before too, is buying an audience segment. You're either in or out of the segment. And you're out of the segment, there's no way someone's getting an ad. What your models do is predict the value of every single person in the segment. And so you're just paying the right price. So if Gary has super high predicted value, as he would, he gets a higher bid, more chasing Gary around the CTV and the web to find him and serve him an ad. But if Tylynn has a pretty decent probability for value, just bid at the right price to reach her. So yeah, does that capture it?
That does. And I think it's really important to think about segments in the marketplace. A lot of people are buying the same segments. There's a lot of users out there that may not be the perfect fit for your model, but if we can bid the right price, overall, it still comes out to an extremely strong outcome.
Yeah, I think that's actually real now. It's been talked about for a long time, but with what you've built with the underlying AI and ML capabilities, it's actually happening. So very exciting.
Nice. So we've been talking a lot about audiences. We also wanted to cover curation and what AI is doing there. So we actually revealed yesterday at Adweek Chalice's new Curate AI platform, and we're going to give a quick demo of that here as well.
This is Chalice's Curate AI platform, putting the ability to create and activate custom AI models directly in your hands. Let's say you're an auto brand and your goal is to get more people to configure a car online. You have your brief, reach people researching compact SUVs and comparing models like the Tucson, Blazer, or RAV4. You want positive news coverage and relevant lifestyle moments, like maybe expecting parents. Instead of turning your brief into a rigid audience segment or static curated lists, you can just type it naturally, like ChatGPT. I'm going to select a few additional content filters, like category and preferred ad format, to help the AI narrow in on the most relevant type of pages. Behind the scenes, AI models run across millions of pages using LLMs and predictive AI to translate that prompt into a nuanced embedded profile, generating a curated list of over 100,000 URLs, each scored for how closely it aligns with your brief. Up top, I can see the breakdown of what the AI found. Most of these URLs fall into family planning and car reviews, which makes sense for this audience. If I scroll down, I can actually see the individual URLs, along with their relevant scores and domain names. From here, I can sanity check the results, add or remove pages, or filter down to only those with the highest scores before moving on to the next step. Perfect. Now I want to make sure these pages are high-quality environments for my brand to appear on. Each page is scored across 16 quality signals, from ad clutter to refresh rate and overall user experience. I'll increase the weight on the overall page quality, and maybe scroll down here and loosen the filter on video duration to allow for shorter play times. You'll see everything update instantly. Total volume drops a bit, but what's left are premium pages in clean, brand-safe environments. Now I'm down to about 24,000 highly relevant, high-quality pages ready for activation. Finally, it's time to set everything live. Here's my curation summary. 24,800 URLs across more than 3,000 premium domains, all aligned with my brief. On the right, I'll set up launch details: advertiser, PMP name, and platform. I can choose my SSP, connect directly to a DSP like the Trade Desk, and schedule automatic refreshes so this PMP stays current. I think I'll choose daily. Before I launch, I also have the option to optimize toward an outcome, whether that's relevance, cost per quality, or conversions. The system can be set to curate for the best, relevant, high-quality reach, or train itself toward the outcome that matters most. Once I hit launch, Chalice packages the URLs into a PMP and pushes deal IDs directly into your seat. No spreadsheets, no manual setup. And because it's always on, always learning, it keeps refreshing as new high-quality pages come online. From strategy to live activation, all in one workflow.
Cool.
Awesome. Very sleek. I think I saw the raw version. This looks awesome.
Yeah, there's been a lot
Very
of
cool.
progress since our
They're working
panel
overtime.
prep call on bringing it together.
Right.
A lot
For
of client
sure.
feedback, making it better too. We always appreciate it.
We're like a back end company, so we end up like making all the back end work, and then we're like, oh my gosh, we need a UI UX designer to make this like.
Right.
Anyway, but yeah, what are your? So you got to see a preview of it before we put it on stage yesterday. What were your like? What was your reaction to the tool?
Yeah. From my point of view, and I don't know if all brands think this way, but I think eventually they will. The level of detail that you shared there, you pretty much don't see anywhere else, right? There's a short list of companies that are helping to enable and surface all of that information. You know, we're talking about URLs and URL scoring. I care about that, right? I think that's really important. I'm trying to help build a marketplace for our team to invest in that has a high quality media experience, right? If we're talking about the open web, there's a big difference between domain number 1 and domain number 20,000, right? So this level of detail, I think, is extremely important and will only continue to be more important in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Also being at the page level, right? Like there's a lot of difference in value of, I'm certain for Claritin, of being on pages related to health conditions, right? Versus pages related to
Probably
auto reviews.
High predictive relevance for sure. Yeah. And you know, data like that, before this year, I probably would not have been able to manage something like that, but now we can. So we'll see where this new frontier takes us.
Nice. So Tylynn, you and your team built this tool. What was one surprising thing you learned as you built it?
I think one of the most surprising things was how many URLs there were per domain that were just garbage that we don't want to consider for most brands. There's a lot of really high quality URLs out there, but as we're analyzing these campaigns, there's an insane amount of wasteful spend going to mail.yahoo.com. And in most platforms, there's nothing you can do about it. You can only target at the domain and subdomain level. it was very eye-opening seeing how much of a difference it makes when we're piloting this and we can actually have control over the type of pages below the subdomain that we would like to show up on.
Right. See, I even just did it. I subconsciously was talking about publishers, but it's within the publishers, right? The URLs within it and the experience on each. So,
yeah, we see that, right? Like you go to the top level homepage, it's a really good experience. But as you like click deeper and deeper into sites, you start to see more ads, the quality goes down a lot. And so trying to suss out inside of a publisher, what is the premium content is something AI can do. Cool. Okay. I wanted to ask, what's one thing you think AI will disrupt in biddable media that it'll disrupt before it ultimately improves it?
okay, yeah, I can go first. Other than literally everything, I think sort of what we were just touching on, right? If you're a media buyer and you want to make sure that your brand is showing up in a highly visible environment where the consumer experience isn't overloaded with ads, you're going to start consolidating your delivery to those areas, right? And the tools are now becoming available. I think once brands learn that this is the case, the demand will flow to these pages and then publishers will react accordingly. I think on the buy side, though, you also have to recognize that you might have to be okay with paying a premium for some of these URLs, right? And I know with another client, you recently released a case study that showed when you focus on quality based on their definition, you increase both effectiveness for the creative as well as the ROI. So I think that'll happen and disrupt sort of like the price discovery of what you think is acceptable for display versus OLV versus different types of OLV, right? And ultimately, I think that'll be a positive flywheel for a better customer experience that publishers will react to.
Yeah, absolutely. Tylynn?
And I think with AI, there's an explosion of information. There's an explosion of partners. I think it's a great thing. Competition always improves the offerings in the marketplace. But I do think it's going to be very disruptive, looking at all of the options, deciding what works well, what doesn't, and what tools we should use going forward long term. I think that there's going to be a slowdown in trying to sit down and figure out what AI is actually improving versus what sounds really cool and flashy, but really isn't helping or finding any efficiencies. I think we'll get there, but it's going to take some time since there's just so much available all at once.
Right. What are the relevant signals, and do the same signals for us work for some of your other clients that might not be CPG and OTC? Right.
So, and it applies to data science and it applies to partner selection. Even on the technical side of things, there's so much we could do with AI. We have to sit down and think about what's the most important thing that we need to tackle right now. Let's focus our efforts on that. Comes down to partners too. There's 10 different AI offerings. How am I going to decide what's best for my brand? There's a lot of buzzwords out there. It's going to take some time to sort through what is actually real, what's not, and how do you figure out which one to go forward with.
Yeah, Tylynn, you've been in data science for a decade, doing biochemical work before the wonderful world of ad tech. You just mentioned like flashy stuff that might not really have all the substance. I'm really curious what that is for you, or what you're skeptical about right now in the AI world.
I'm skeptical of anyone who can't describe in detail, not the code and the underlying math, I don't care, but in detail, how does your algorithm work? What data are you using? What data are you outputting? Can I actually see it? Are you open to an A/B test? If you can describe all of that to me, it's probably real. If you're open to me testing it with another partner in the mix, that's great. But I'm seeing a lot of AI where there's just not a lot of information or transparency, and it really is just turn it on and see if it works with absolutely no detail. That makes me very skeptical. Especially as someone who builds AI, I'm always happy to talk about it. I think most people in a technical field love talking about their work. If somebody isn't able to go into the details of their model, maybe there's nothing there. There's no real substance.
Yeah, we have this joke that companies go in and say, we have AI and it's the best AI and the AI is going to do it, but can't talk about what the data is behind it.
Right. Exactly. And that's why I kicked off with we want to look at things that are actually new and different as opposed to what's already been integrated into the industry for so many years.
Absolutely. All right, Gary, we have 1 minute. I would love to end with, we're in the early innings of AI adoption. We just saw some wins you guys are making with AI. What do you see as one of the biggest opportunities for AI to transform how brands like Bayer are bringing their products to market?
Yeah, I'll keep it quick because I want to hear just Tylynn's general perspective on where things are going to be in 2 or 3 years, because I have no idea. I think for an enterprise like Bayer or large enterprise, what I'm excited about is the ability for AI to help distribute intelligence to everybody, right? If we have our hands on a tool where we can ask very quick and legitimate questions to help solve our marketing objectives, we can then define go-to-market strategies that make the most sense, whether it's teams or products that cross markets, anything at our fingertips. I'm really excited for that to change, hopefully in sooner than 2 years.
Yeah, Gary, I think I would say about the same thing. A decade ago, I actually had to schedule server room time to make sure that I could run a model, and I would have to wait 3 days for it to come back, and then I'd have to test the results. With the current audience models that my team runs, we use large language models with all the bells and whistles. We can get an output in less than an hour. So I think it makes it much faster for everyone to iterate. And when you're doing that on the technical side, you can get it to market much quicker, give it to advertisers, get feedback. Everything just becomes closer to a go-to-market strategy. You can learn more, test more, and figure out what works most efficiently. And I'm really excited for that. We don't have long development cycles.
Love it. Thank you both so much for sharing. And thank you guys for being here and staying after Run DMC.
Yeah, that was wild. I don't know how I could have done anything better than that, but thanks for staying.
That was
everybody.
amazing. What energy. Thank you.